Welcome to Masters of Product Management, a show that gives you real-world techniques and cutting-edge strategies to learn, apply, and succeed in product management. Now, here's the master himself, Stephen Haines.
Welcome back, everyone. When I wrote the book, Managing Product Management, I entitled the first chapter, Reinventing the Wheel for the Last Time. Now, many of us who've worked in companies for a while, we probably would like the reorganizations to stop and things like that. But, I've been a participant, an observer, a researcher in my company, Sequent Learning Networks. There are a number of diagnostics and corporate evaluations that we do to see how product management is being run in any number of companies. But I wanted to reinforce some key points with this very basic podcast today entitled, What is Product Management? Now, you can say, why? You can be rolling your eyeballs at this point. We all know what product management is and does, don't we? So I have a challenge for you. What would happen if you asked 20 people how they would define product management? I guess you'd probably get about 20 different answers. Well, here's another one. A couple of years ago, I saw a LinkedIn post. It posed the same question, what is product management? There were probably well over 500 responses. And that's a big challenge for a lot of people who work in companies. And most of the companies that Sequent focuses on are middle-sized, large-sized, complex firms across a host of sectors. And it's a big issue because when a population, a workforce of people with a common mission and purpose can't speak the same language, it's pretty confusing. And I think you may sense that in your roles. Maybe not everybody, but some of you. So I don't want to overstate the obvious, but product management is a functional discipline, and it can't be poorly understood, and its practices can't be inconsistently applied. All right? So if I can just restate and reinforce what product management is, and maybe how product management brings value to a company, or maybe how it transforms a business, we might be able to get someplace. So I really want to reset the definitions here by defining product management in terms of its two constituent words, product and management. So if we think that products are bundles of attributes, features, functions, benefits, uses, that's one thing, but a product can be tangible or intangible. And when somebody says, well, we don't sell products, we sell services or we sell software, it's a product. A product is something that somebody buys, okay? And the thing about a product is it's, not always a single standalone item. And sometimes, especially in a lot of companies, there's a hierarchy. So it could be part of a product or a product line. Or if we bundle it up together, it could be packaged with a group of products and offered as a solution or a system. And those are the kinds of things that are designed to meet a broad set of customer needs. All right. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, products can be broken down into product elements or modules or terms like in a credit card. And that's important to understand, too, especially when it comes to roles and responsibilities and how companies are organized around products and things like that. And so if you would like to have a better perspective on that taxonomy or that hierarchy, in the book, The Product Manager's Desk Reference, the second edition, both in the introductory chapter as well as chapter 1, the visualization of that is there. So you could own a product or even a portion of a product, but it's really important for you as a product person to see how it fits into the bigger picture. So like if you were responsible, like a product manager responsible for an auto navigation system, you'd be in charge of a module or perhaps of something that goes into something bigger. So your navigation system would be most likely part of the entire telematics complex of the automobile. However, it could be connected to antennas and cameras and radars, but the customer still buys the car, the auto as the solution to the transportation problem. And you may only be responsible for a piece of that. So it's an important perspective because if you understand where you fit or where your product fits, that's a really, really great step toward understanding, again, the role of product management and the role of product manager. And it's also important for bosses to think about how they organize for product management. All right, so that gets rid of product. Let's take care of management. I studied business and management as an undergraduate in school. There are any number of books and resources, and it's not so difficult to get our arms around. But about this definition of management has a fairly stable set of attributes: setting goals, motivating or managing or engaging people, or using financial and human resources, making decisions, figuring out how well you did, and going back and doing it again. And what's interesting as well is that sometimes management and leadership are sort of commingled, and it's generally what happens in the corporate world today, because especially as product managers, we're managing things, a lot of different moving parts, and we're helping people set direction. So there's some leadership involved with that. But what we're really talking about is the alignment of people and processes so you can get stuff done. And it's not command and control, it's not the military. But what's interesting, if we use a command and control like model, like in the Army or in sports or something like that, everybody in different functions has to still understand what the goals are. And if you understand the mission and goals and strategies, everybody gets a chance to march in the same direction. And that's what management has to do when we're dealing with product management overall. So if we combine product management, we can say, okay, great. What does a product manager do? And even in this regard, there are a lot of different definitions. And it's really, quite interesting. And sometimes I think a little frustrating for me to see how many different roles there seems to be. And you can look at dozens and dozens of things that people do. But if we just take this simply, right? The person in charge of the product's business is the product manager, okay? Now, while we can say that there isn't a one-to-one relationship between product and product manager because of the hierarchy or the taxonomy of products themselves, we have to understand, or at least believe, that a product manager is responsible for the performance of what it is that they are in charge of, whether it's a module or the entire product. Now, you may say, well, how do I evaluate it? Well, the evaluative metrics or measurements for a module or a feature or a grouping of features may be one set of metrics. But when it comes to a product or a product line, we can look at financial measurements like revenue and costs and gross margins and things like that. And systems need to be tuned to that. I remember when I was a product manager and a product leader, I was responsible and fully accountable that the business of the product was carried out and that the results were obtained. All right. Now, if you want to just sort of distill some of the key responsibilities of what a product manager does and what the function of product management must support, which is targeted at the bosses to organize for this, it's about assessing markets, which is customers and competitors and things like that within given segments, making sure that you understand what those needs are of those customers within those segments, combining that with financial and other measurement information to help refine or redefine goals and objectives and strategies so that everybody can move in the same direction. Now, at the same time, a lot of product managers in companies today seem to be focusing on customer journeys and user stories and product designs and engaging experiences. That's fine. But we have to understand what the bigger picture is of who we're up against in the marketplace, how we want to position ourselves, why that's so important, and why do we have to solve those customers' problems more importantly than anybody else. All right. And then all the other stuff is related to the leadership and the influencing of those who don't work for us and integrating and synchronizing the work of a lot of other people. And in the end, lots of things are happening. It's extremely dynamic, right? So we as product people, we have to solve problems, we have to make decisions and make sure that we're keeping the business of the product moving ahead. Now, in a lot of companies that use agile or iterative product development techniques, a product manager has to work closely with or even guide the work of a product owner. Now, the product owner is not the product manager, but does contribute to the ongoing development and updating of the product, okay? So the product owner may end up focusing on goals for a user story or writing those stories or determining the acceptance test criteria or maybe creating the release schedule and keeping the development team focused. That's great. It's a very tactical kind of a role. But the product manager has to make sure that everything is moving in the same direction from a strategic point of view. So if I were to wrap all of this stuff together, and this goes back to the definition that's in the Product Manager's Desk Reference, second edition, and that's this. Product management is the business management of products, product lines, or portfolios holistically for maximum value creation across all product life cycles. And the big deal here is it's managing a business. And in a bigger company, it's managing a business inside of a business. So that this small company mindsets, this entrepreneurial mindset of a product manager really goes a long way. And what's interesting is that leaders of really well-run firms see this. They see that product management offers a way to improve the business by making sure you're meeting the needs of your customers with products that run like small businesses and really solving those needs better than anybody else. So all of this really goes back to my goal for this podcast, and that is when a company is really organized effectively for product management and they're focusing on markets and they find ways to solve customer problems and beat competitors, that outside-in perspective has a greater chance of achieving business results. And these companies, as I alluded to a moment ago, their products are managed like those investments in these portfolios, and then everybody agrees to what's to be done. And what's really, really cool about this is, and you may relate to this, right? That sometimes different people in different departments want to chase those shiny objects. But what we have to do is not chase the shiny objects and focus on the business at hand. And that's how product management transforms a business. So what I'd like to do is offer you this, a visualization. At Sequent, we have a product management model. It's a framework, and it allows us to look at all the different things that product people do across the entire life cycle. And I think that will give you the kind of perspective that's necessary for you to be a best-in-class product manager with a company that focuses on product management because everybody understands what product management means. Thanks a lot for listening in, and we'll see you next time on Masters of Product Management.
Looking for resources and best practices in product management? Just go to Sequent Learning Networks to gain access to real-world tools that can make a difference. It's all there at sequentlearning.com.